Shot to the head, I need a blank space. 'Cause everything is a threat, but I never back down, man, I'd rather be dead. I'm making love.
Hey, hey, hey. I hope you had a wonderful day. I have some news for y'all. Hopefully, you haven't heard it yet. I just heard it. So, we're going to go through Jordan Willis again. And you will notice that I have the same outlay that I did on the previous one because I was lazy. Plus, I did court this morning, you guys. So, give me a little break, okay? We're going to go over what we previously went over. And then we're going to talk about, is Jordan Willis in rehab? Or is he at home? Do we have a picture of his backyard? Nope, we have a video of his backyard. So we already know, we're just going to go over this real quick. For a friend, a crazy football game, this crazy scientist equals what? Terror. And these are our three guys that we lost. David, Clayton, and Ricky. I'm just going to go over this real quick, and then we'll get into the breaking news. So we know David, Ricky, and Clayton watched the Chiefs game against the Chargers on January 7, 2024 at the home of Jordan Willis, which in an interview with his lawyer says that they watched the game at various places and then went home to Jordan's house for like an after party thing. And of course, his dog. So no one knowing that would be the last time these best friends would be alive. On January 9th, 2024, David, Ricky, and Clayton still had not made it home. Family members called, sent messages on Facebook, but no response. A fiance, which we now know as Clayton's fiance, went to the house. No answer, but the guys' cars were in the driveway, which is wrong. They were in the street, which we'll see in another video. She breaks a window to the basement, and on the back porch finds a frozen dead body, which, in my opinion, you will see would be David. After calling 911, law enforcement searched the property and found 2 more dead bodies. When police officers knocked on the door, he answered the door wearing boxer shorts, holding an empty wine glass, and wearing earbuds. He told the police officers that he left his friends, that he had friends over for a football game. They left and he went to sleep on the couch for 2 days. He never received phone calls or messages from the guy's family. And then we know Jordan obtained Mr. Great John Pacerno. Now, the 3 cars were left in the street, not in a driveway. So this good old friend, right? He let one of the guys out the front door without his jacket on. After they left the front door and Jordan fell asleep on the couch, the 3 guys went to the backyard. 2 days later, they found this. I'm going to go over these quick videos because they're not long, and just for people that might have not seen them yet. And then I'm going to go into the backyard video and him maybe kind of sort of being in rehab.
Three Kansas City fans. Oh, you know what? I'm not calling them Kansas City Chiefs fans anymore. Yes, they clearly are. They have on the colors and the pictures. But I've been told more than once, let's not define somebody whose life is over by the football team that they like. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. This has just become the headline. But let's move past it now, right? These are the men. These are the families. They had lives, full lives, not just football fans. They go to a buddy's house after the game. They wound up dead. One of them doesn't even have a jacket on, frozen solid in the backyard, all in their 30s, all healthy. David Harrington, Ricky Johnson, Clayton McGeady. No stab wounds, no foul play, we're told. The attorney for Jordan Willis, who's the guy whose house they were at, says through his lawyer, he certainly had nothing to do with it, and he doesn't know what happened when they left the house. Loved ones say they were looking for them pretty actively in the days thereafter. They weren't found for like 2-3 days. They couldn't reach the friend who survived. Why? Oh, he was out of it, he was working. Not great explanations. So hear it from somebody who was trying and who doesn't understand and who doesn't agree that this is just something that happened. Lori Cruz, 17-year relationship with David Harrington, one of the deceased. She's the mother of several of his kids. Lori, thank you very much for joining us. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
What do you want people to know about what is so heavy on your heart?
David wasn't a drug addict like they're talking about. He was a good guy, very good guy. He went to church with us. He coached my son's baseball team. It's the mystery is out there and everybody's talking, and I can't rest because my phone's blowing up about, did you hear this, or did you about social media with all these links, and it's not, those are not true, and it's rude, it's hurtful. It's not who David was. David didn't do stuff like that. He got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I don't understand how he could have, or I mean, it doesn't make sense, 3 men dead. But I get to look at all the crap that's not true about him, and it hurts because that's not him.
It's easy for me to say, don't look at it, but I know it's suffocating. And I know that you have to balance what you're being exposed to with what you tell the kids and how you deal with the loss. And frankly, right now, while we don't know a lot of things, to me, that matters more. How are you handling that? How are you handling knowing that whatever the explanation is, your guy's not coming home, and that you're going to have to explain to the kids? How are you handling that?
So I'm pretty open with my kids, and I've told them, and they obviously see on TikTok and such. TikTok's terrible. People are laughing about it, and well, they're laughing because they don't know the people, and my kids see that. So I've been open with them, and we're dealing with it, and we're learning from it. I don't know what's going to come up. I don't know if Jordan gave them something like they're talking about. I don't know if Jordan did give them something, but whatever comes up in it, David did not intentionally do that. David was murdered. Whether it's a drug or it has to be for 3 men to be dead. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense to have 3 men dead, laying in the yard, and him asleep for 48 hours.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com.
Thank you, Richie. The man who hosted the fateful Kansas City Chiefs watch party where 3 men froze to death is devastated by the loss of his pals and very depressed by nationwide accusations that he may have had something to do with the death. Not only is the whole country accusing him of murdering his friends without factual details, evidence, or any charges at this time, but he also lost 3 close friends. He didn't get to say goodbye or go to their funerals due to the circumstances of these wild speculations and accusations. No one seems to be willing to wait for the results of the toxicology report or wait for any other facts from the police department from a case that is still under investigation to make these speculations. The source slammed rumors that Willis was telling friends that David Harrington, 37, Ricky Johnson, 38, and Clayton McGee, 36, had froze to death in the days leading up to the tragic January 9th discovery. Willis's own family reportedly first learned of the tragedy through the media and weren't sure whether their loved one was among the dead, according to the source. Jordan Willis is very depressed by nationwide accusations that he had something to do with his 3 friends' mysterious death. GitHub. The HIV research scientist spent the 48 hours asleep on the couch next to a loud fan wearing noise-canceling headphones, blissfully unaware of the flurry of calls and messages of loved ones trying to locate the missing men. Johnson and Harrington's family have fiercely slammed Willis's story, even speculating that a crime could have been tied to Willis's career as a scientist with the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative Neutralizing Antibody Center, Chief Lab. The mad scientist agenda is absolutely ridiculous, the source close to the Willis family said. Goodbye. McGinney's fiance was the one who requested a welfare check, leading to the discovery of the men's bodies. The fact that he is a scientist is irrelevant. What's probably important to note, and maybe a reason why these families are saying they don't know Jordan, Jordan went to high school with several of these guys. After college, he spent probably close to 10 years in Nashville and San Diego doing his graduate and postdoctorate work. He moved back to KC 4 or 5 years ago and at some point reconnected with his high school friends. And this is the back porch. What we do and don't know about the 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans who froze to death, the diehard fans routinely shared pictures of themselves decked out in their Chiefs regalia to watch games and were planning on going to a January 13th game with tickets Willis bought for the group, which wasn't the first game he'd taken them all to this season. Willis's dad previously told the Post that his son had treated his friends to a game just one day before the tragedy. When asked how Willis could have spent 2 days inside his home without his dog alerting him to the dead bodies, the source told Fox Nation the pet simply wasn't home. Although he belongs to Willis, the animal is somewhat of a therapy dog for Willis's father. That's the first time that we've heard that. Who the source said is suffering from Alzheimer's disease and spends most of the time at the family home. Willis had been living in a nearby rental home until the tragedy and subsequent accusations, but was driven out by what his lawyer describes as fear of retaliation. Willis had left the rental home where the tragedy occurred out of fear of retaliation. Associated Press. His house was all over the news, multiple people driving by every day. People are threatening him on the internet, and everyone knows where this house is thanks to the news coverage. After the police cleared the house and the story became public, Jordan moved out as his privacy and safety were at risk. He's still cooperating with police, the source said, describing Willis as a good guy who loves his friends. So the police went into his house and cleared it, maybe from just other people. The vitriol is awful, and I think people are afraid to speak up for him because of how vicious people are with speculation. Police had emphatically said that the case is not being investigated as a homicide and that Willis is not being treated as a suspect. Toxicology reports for the dead men are still pending, which will affirm or deny law enforcement's suspicions that they overdosed on drugs, making themselves vulnerable to the freezing overnight conditions. Hey everyone. Okay, so let's get to the backyard. Hey, what happened? I'm gonna do the update after. I know people want to do the backyard. It's only like 20 seconds long, you guys, okay? So I'll play it like twice. Because this is the chairs on the patio. I do believe it's the only chairs that I see in the backyard. So David must have been in one of these chairs. I don't know what this room is to be right in front of it. This is the second time I'm going to play it, okay, you guys? So I'll pause it right here so you can see the whole thing. And again, you see a doggy door, but I don't know how his dog would fit through there. And then you see the two chairs, one by the doggy door and one by this glass door. They say David was found in a chair. These are the only two that I see. Therefore, in my opinion, Clayton's fiance would have seen David first if he was in the chair. Y'all see that squirrel? Look at that squirrel. Go get you some squirrel. You see a squirrel right there? Okay, so guys, that is Jordan's old backyard, should I say, because he's moved. I kicked it out. And then we get to the rehab section. Hey, everybody, did you hit that thumbs up for me? I'd appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to go back to the rest after. There we go. Breaking news from the one and only. Kansas City Chiefs fans death. Jordan Willis checks into rehab as families await talk. Yes, I am. If it will pull up, yes. There we go. There we go, guys. Okay. All right. There we go. What in the holy roly, Fox News? All right, now let me play it. Let's see. Let me try this again. Guys, I don't know what's wrong with Fox News. It's not loading. But don't leave me. I'm getting it. Not it. Oh my God. How disappointing, Fox News. Jordan. All right, the same damn thing comes up. So here we go. And it opens. So add to stage. Let me know when y'all can see. I do not like this delay between YouTube and StreamYard, you guys. Okay, here. So he must be on drugs. It says Jordan Willis checks into rehab as family. One. Here we go again, Mr. Badass. Got it. Come back.
Missouri man.
Nah, you got to be fucking kidding me, dude. Here we go. I am so sorry, guys. Fox News sucks. Let's see if there's a video. Jordan Willis recognizes he has a problem with addiction. I just want to scroll down real quick and see if there's a video. I love that picture of Clayton. No, there's not. Okay, I'll read it. Chiefs fan Jordan Willis checks into rehab after 3 friends found dead. Guilty conscience day. Jordan Willis, the man who hosted a watch party that turned deadly after 3 of his friends' bodies were discovered, has checked himself into rehab. As previously reported, Willis invited his friends over to watch the January 7th Kansas City Chiefs game. Now, you will hear on one of his lawyer's interviews, he says, the lawyer himself says, they watched the game at various places and then went to Jordan's home. Willis says after the game, he decided to go to bed, but claims he did not know if his friends left the house. 2 days later, on January 9th, the bodies of Ricky Johnson, David Harrington, and Clayton McGeeney were discovered in the backyard of Jordan Willis's home. According to Willis's attorney, Andrew Tail, there was a 5th friend at the house, and Andrew is Alex's lawyer, who has been identified as Alex Weimer Lee, but he says he left the party around 11. I thought it was 12. While the other 4, Willis, Johnson, Harrington, and McGeeney, were watching Jeopardy. Willis's attorney also stated that his client fell asleep for 2 days and he is unaware of how his friends died. Jordan Willis recognizes he has a problem with addiction. As the mysterious case continues to unfold, Jordan Willis has recognized that he had a problem with addiction, and he immediately checked himself into rehab after vacating his home and putting his things into storage. According to a source close to the family, Willis is facing his addiction head on, and the death of his friends was an enormous wake-up call. They told Fox News Digital. But they still have to prove that Jordan gave them those drugs that he's on, if it's in his system. Interestingly, the attorney didn't mention what types of drugs the group might have been using. And I'm going to tell you another reason why I pretty much knew it was drugs. In the interview with Cuomo, and he brings up drugs, the lawyer talks shaking his head. And to me, that means yes. Doesn't shock me if he's on drugs. They all were, and that is how a few died. It's okay. I think he did have a yeah. And it's sad. It's very sad that it took 3 of his friends dying for him to do this. And then you guys look at his job. Hold on. I'm sorry. Look at his job, you guys. He's a freaking scientist that works with the C word and HIV research and stuff like that. Like, and he's all on drugs, really. While the completion of an autopsy and a toxicology reports will answer more questions surrounding the deaths of Ricky Johnson, David Harrington, and Clayton McGeeney, A neighbor did state they saw two of the friends arriving at Willis's house with 2 30-packs of beer. Warmer Lee also reportedly texted other friends about drug use at Willis's house during the watch party. So Alex texted other friends about drug use at Willis's house during the watch party. Dr. Caleb Alexander, a skin doctor at Johns Hopkins University, says it is plausible that drugs played a part in the deaths. It's one thing for a person to tragically end up in a snowdrift after leaving a bar, but it's a completely different story for 3 people to end up dead sitting on someone's back porch after a party. Alexander, who specializes in drug use and safety, says the victims could have been either intentionally or unintentionally exposed to the possible drug. And that's what they would have to prove right there. Did drugs play a part in the deaths of the 3 Chiefs fans? It certainly could be consistent with opioids, benzos, antihistamines, barbiturates, muscle relaxers, he said, adding, there are dozens of potential prescription drugs that, when combined with alcohol, could cause a level of sedation that would lead to ultimately freezing to death. And that is very true, guys. That's why they say, I'm on Klonopin. They say don't drink alcohol with Klonopin because that very reason. The bodies of Ricky Johnson, David Harrington, and Clayton McGeeney, 2 days after the watch party, when McGeeney's fiancée was worried that he never came home, she broke into Willis's property and saw one of the bodies outside. Police then discovered the other 2 after arriving on the scene. Illicit opioids such as fentanyl are also a possibility, said Dr. Alexander. That could account for the 3 individuals rapidly losing consciousness and ultimately succumbing from the weather. That's what I thought, because when you do a hard drug like that, you usually sweat. And I was thinking that they went outside just to cool off and something happened. Now that Jordan Willis has checked himself into rehab, it is being speculated that drugs did in fact play a part in the deaths of his friends. However, nothing will be confirmed until the autopsy and toxicology reports come back. The Kansas City Police Department previously said that the case is 100% not being investigated as a homicide. And I really don't think it ever will if there's drugs in his system. And, well, of course, they didn't test Jordan. So that's pretty messed up. They're doing a toxicology report on the 3 guys that died. So, yes, guys, he is in rehab. His brother had a new interview. David's brother had a new interview with Cuomo that that's where he says that his brother David's body was found in the earth. They must be playing with Penelope. While I do that, hold on 1 second, please. I'm sorry. So very sorry, guys. All that reading made me thirsty. My mouth's dry. Okay, let's go back to where we stopped before I talked about the backyard and the rehab. I really don't see anybody getting charged. I really, really don't. I wish I could find an interview with his fiance. Poor thing. She's the one that found them, so I don't think I will. Oh, watch this. Oh, Ashley tells Jordan's lawyer, since he's not in trouble and no charges, that she would like an interview with him. Here we go. I just did this with a whole bunch of different videos that I found. Can you guys see it?
So if all of that is true,
I want to make sure you guys can see it first. Yeah.
there is still a question. This has to be about drugs.
Now, this is what I'm talking about. Watch when they talk about it, his lawyer will shake his head. Yes, that's what made me feel that it had to do with drugs.
If it, or, booze, drugs, whatever it is. Because if they're not shot and they're not stabbed and they're all dead, it just strains common sense to believe they could have wound up in this predicament if it wasn't done to them without drugs. It is the elephant in the room. What is the position of your client?
I forgot to put a banner. Just give me 1 second, you guys.
As I told you last night, Chris, I'm not in a position to comment on that at this time for a variety of reasons, not on behalf of Jordan. And when and if the toxicology report comes out and when we get it, I'd certainly be happy to comment on it at that time. I'm not going to speculate about the activity and the behavior of other people who were not in the presence of my client at some point in time that evening or early morning hours.
And look, we both understand the dilemma, okay? If the tox comes out and they had whatever it is in it that makes this a more understandable.
Some of this we've seen already and some of it we haven't. But I put some of it in it because, like he says, he can't comment. And then at the end of Cuomo, he's like, oh, well, let's talk about the calls. So it's just kind of like Cam contradicting himself in ways.
Situation.
Hey,
he's now going to be chasing his responsibility as opposed to being in front of it and owning what happened that night. And one of those is a much more satisfying thing in terms of credibility. You're aware that that is the dilemma here.
No, I don't see it that way. And, he has an attorney and I'm representing his best interest. And he did nothing wrong. And that's what we're saying. That's what we're maintaining. And that's what we're going to say, no matter what comes back in that autopsy report.
Right. Well, something's going to come back. And I will give you a platform at that time and we'll discuss it because things just never don't make sense. Eventually, it will make sense and responsibility will lie where it does, and we'll take it to its logical conclusion. John Passero.
a crappy attorney. Jules, if new people come in, can you just let them know to rewind a little bit for the update for the rehab and the backyard, please, Jules? Thank you. Because I know they're coming in and seeing old stuff.
No, thank you very much for being with us
Chris,
again. Yes,
I would like to address those the phone calls and the text messages if I could, since the reporter left that hanging out there.
Go ahead, because the initial suggestion was he only got a Facebook message and nobody was really trying to get him. Malik says that's not true because the fifth friend says that he was getting messages and he was trying to find him and he wasn't getting his messages answered either. So what is it?
So I have sent your staff the records, his phone records, which I acquired this afternoon, and also the text message records. And during that period of time, the phone calls that came in on the early morning hour after the game on the 7th, and the early morning hours of the 8th, all the way to the 8th, and then all the way to the 9th when the police came. The only calls that came in were one from his dad, which we recognize the number, and you have the actual numbers.
Mhm.
He answered a call from his dad in the middle of the day at noon.
And then the other calls, there were 8 of them that came in from what is a dummy number. He has a robo killer app.
Okay. I looked up a robo killer app, and he could have done that just for this incident. This is robo killer app. This is the robo killer that he was using. It's a spam call blocker, but I'm wondering if you can add a call. You know what I mean? Like you block a call and then it says, is this spam or whatever? I wonder if he could have done that to their numbers and then like took it off or something. I don't know. But this is robo killer. This is what he used on his phone that his lawyer's saying he had 8 robo killer missed calls. And the text that he got was a robo killer 0000 text. What kind of shit is that? Now back to the video. I just wanted to show you guys that.
And so when calls come in that are unrecognized or for whatever reason, they read as this dummy number. I've dialed this dummy number myself. It's a non-existent number. You get a message saying,
can you let us know how it works in the chat? You can add numbers, you said. How else does it work? Can he delete the numbers after this happens? And then will it still show up as a dummy number or will it show up as their number?
whatever. It's a dummy number. And then the only other call that came in was all zeros, a call that he blocked again from a robocop.
What
as far
about
as
text?
the text messages?
Yeah.
Robotech. Yeah. As far as the text messages go, what you have, there are a series of incoming text messages. That's all we have. There are no outgoing text messages.
I wonder
So,
why.
The correlation.
You have incoming text messages because people are texting you. You have no outgoing text messages because he didn't respond to anyone. So make your eyes a little bit wider, sir.
To that, what goes along with what makes sense to that is when you and I get a text message, typically we're going to respond. If somebody texts you and says, hey, these 3 guys are missing, and they're your friend, you're going to respond. If Alex had said, if someone had said to him, the text message came in, why don't you respond? You would respond to your friend, right? That's what you would do.
Maybe.
The reporter wanted to twist my words when I said he didn't receive any messages. And technically I'm right. His phone received the messages. If you don't look at it, you did not receive the messages. I guess I should have said he didn't read the messages. And
that is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yes, as far as the text message from his friend, he did not tell me about that. And when I was informed of that, I asked him about that. And then he told me that's right. So there's 2 text messages, or excuse me, a Facebook message and a text message. And neither one he got before the police arrived at his home.
Don't forget the 8 phone calls by Robo Killer. Don't forget.
The phone records that you have are consistent with him. If you look at them, the calls were early in the morning.
Yeah, we have
his
them.
dad called at noon and he picked up. He didn't pick up any in the morning. He didn't pick up any in the evening when he would have been sleeping.
Over with now.
There were no other phone calls. And the text messages, the same way. There's no outgoing text messages those 2 days.
Right.
Which, as you know, who can stay off their phone for 2 days straight unless you're principally sleeping it out of it and you don't have your phone around you. So everything.
Oh, so even though it comes up as a spam call or text, you have to accept it to see the text and call. So if he was to accept the call, it would show him who's calling. And if he would have read the text, it would have showed him who texted him. Is that right? Look at new guy's face. He thinking same as you. Yeah, I know. You see his face? It's like, Okay, let's get this over with.
Everything is consistent with what he's saying.
If you didn't see them leave, that's one thing. If you did see them leave, then it leads to questions of, well, where did you think they were going? Why didn't you go with them, et cetera, et cetera. And the idea that he was unaware for days and not suspicious of what's happening in the backyard, and supposedly as a dog, but the dog was sent to his parents' house or something.
So we read in the article that the dog is a therapy dog and mostly stays at his dad's house because his dad has Alzheimer's. We just read that tonight in the article.
Why? Let's bring in the reporter who was first on the scene looking into these details for Fox 4 KC. Reporter Malik Jackson. Malik, nice to meet you. Thank you for helping me out on this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Chris. We appreciate it.
All right. So now first, am I off in terms of my curiosity? Like, am I getting a wrong read on this, or are we right about the open questions?
I think you're exactly right. There's a lot of open questions, and more importantly, things have been said that don't line up. And so when things don't line up, what are you going to naturally do? Ask more questions. So I think you're right on target with this one.
All right. So in terms of what you're hearing from the authorities about what their assessment is to this point, my understanding is they're still waiting on toxicology. I've been told that that takes a couple of weeks, but I thought that you got like a quick mix, like 1 or 2 days afterwards, that gives them something to go on about cause of death. What are you being told about what they're looking at?
So I spoke on the phone actually with the medical examiner that is dealing with this case. And basically, when there's no obvious signs of foul play, like no gunshot wounds, no stab wounds, it takes longer because they need those toxicology reports. And they have to send them out of state. So it takes 6 to 8 weeks already. But depending on how complex the results are once they get them, it could stretch longer than that 8 weeks. So we are in this waiting period right now. And we really don't.
In my opinion, it'll be around that. If you're just coming in, the rehab and the backyard is a little bit ahead of this. Not in the beginning, but kind of like in the middle of the beginning and where I am now. And then this is just more stuff we've seen already. I'm just replaying if anyone hasn't seen it already. And at the end of this video is the witness that got the video of the cops at the house. And you see the cars on the street, not the driveway. And you see Jordan outside in his boxers in the snow, handcuffed, talking to the police. That's at the end of this video if you haven't seen it yet.
Don't know when we're going to have these answers. And at the end of the day, Chris, and I know you understand this, there's 3 families. It's interesting. We don't know what happened. We all want to know, but there's 3 families right now that have no idea how their loved ones are gone. And the idea of having to wait maybe longer than 8 weeks, it's frustrating for them.
So what did the 5th guy have to say, who was there, but not the whole time? He left. What did he have to say? And Malik, let me know what your 2 biggest open questions are, and I'll put them to the attorney for you afterwards. So what does the 5th guy say? And good on you for getting an interview with him. And what are your questions?
So the 5th guy responded basically saying, because we spoke with Jordan Willis's attorney, John Paserno, on Monday. And when we spoke with him, he told us that Jordan went to sleep. So it was a different story that he said in the statement on Saturday that he released. It was a different story that he told Ashley.
Exactly, Jules. And that's what I think happened.
Banfield hours after we sat down with him, and we have it on tape. He said his client went to sleep, and so that these men were still in his house. So when I talked to him, my first question was, well, when you left the house, were they still alive? Were you the last person to see them alive? And he unequivocally said that is untrue. I was not the last person there. I spoke with his attorney, and his attorney told us, he was there until.
And in my opinion, this is my opinion, allegedly, whatever, entertainment purposes only, okay? In my opinion, Alex brought it to them, and that's why Alex left so early, and nothing happened to him. In my opinion, it was F. That's why Jordan slept on the couch for 2 days, and that's why the guys got so hot that they went outside, and whatever happened. And that's my opinion.
A little after midnight. And when he left, all of these men, all 4 men, so the 3 victims and Jordan Willis, they were awake, they were there, and they were watching Jeopardy on TV. My questions are, Chris, at this point are simply, so at first we were told he only received messages through Facebook. Okay. Well, then once we hunted down the person, number 5, this mystery man, then that changed, because when we talked to him, he said, yes, through his attorney, that he texted Jordan on Tuesday because he had received text from Clayton McGeeney's fiance and Ricky Johnson's mom. So he had received text. So he inquired to Jordan asking, about the whereabouts.
And those weren't answered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why, if you only got a Facebook message and then now it's, I got text messages. And
Right.
then my other question, I think it's your question, which is, okay, so did he escort them to the door? Was he asleep? And when did he see them
Right.
exit? Because the first statement he says, I didn't see them exit the house.
Right.
And then in the same paragraph, it says, actually, the last time he saw them is when they exited the house.
All right. So, and I'm going to go to break, but I just want to ask you this. I'll talk to the lawyer on the other side of the break. But did the guy number 5 give you any indication of how hard they were partying and what they were doing?
No, he didn't give us any indication of that. And when we talked to his attorney, when I talked to Paserno, that is the question that no one seems to want to answer. What were they doing? Were there drugs involved? How much alcohol was involved? Those are just questions that at this point we haven't been able to get the answers to. But, as we've done all along, if you don't tell us, guess what? We're going to go out there and we're going to find them.
Hey,
And News Nation Law and Justice contributor Jennifer Coffindaffer. Jennifer, always great to have you here. Are you surprised that these families of these victims are completely in the dark? There's been all sorts of weird, sometimes contradictory information coming out from Jordan Willis and his lawyer, who have spoken briefly and sporadically. Why are these families not being told anything by Kansas City police?
Well, really, the ball is being dropped. There are usually victim witness coordinators with every police department, especially a large police department like Kansas City. The FBI had them, everyone has them, and they serve as liaison between these victim families and law enforcement to just help answer questions, help them with the time. They offer counseling, and it seems like that ball has been completely dropped.
Yeah, one of the family members of one of the victims told Chris Cuomo on News Nation last night that his brother was found dead sitting in a lawn chair on the back porch, not laying on the ground. Take a listen to it.
They were found by an extended family member, so you guys are in contact. So go ahead, tell the audience.
Yeah, so I believe David was found in a lawn chair on the back porch, rather than all 3 laying flat, which definitely paints a picture we did not have from the very beginning.
Jennifer, what does it tell you if one of the victims was in fact sitting in a lawn chair? And again, I cannot understand how Jordan Willis for 2 days never looked out his back window into his yard to see these bodies.
Well, Elizabeth, you and the rest of the nation can't believe that he didn't see something. But beyond that, it tells me that they took a substance they were comfortable with taking, and it was something that hit them very quickly and led them to unconsciousness. And then they ended up dying either from that drug or from hypothermia or a combination of both.
You say that actually whether or not the victims had their cell phones on them could be critical, as well as ring cameras or security cameras in the neighborhood. Perhaps those might have captured the 3 men as they're in the backyard?
Well, it's really crucial that Kansas City do a canvas. They need to do a neighborhood canvas, not only to talk to individuals, but to also see who has those ring cameras and what was seen. Just imagine what's going to happen if that door actually did open and this individual resident was actually up and about and looking around. That's going to put a hole in his story that he was just asleep and had headphones on for 2 days. So, Elizabeth, that's important information that I hope Kansas City PD is digging deep into.
Yeah, and obviously they didn't do any toxicology tests on Jordan Willis, the host and homeowner, or home renter in this case, to see what he might have been taken. Do we know if he's cooperating with police, saying, "Yeah, we did this drug or took this substance"?
Well, they said he was cooperating, but it's interesting, right? It was 2 days later. And I wonder, because they did not obtain a search warrant, rather they just got permission to search. Oftentimes when that happens, those searches are quite limited compared to a search warrant. And what might have they have gotten? I want to know what's on his cell phone, if he actually called anyone else when he said, no, he didn't answer any calls. There's just so many answers
Yes,
that
he
I
answered
think
his
could
dad's
be
call.
found with proper investigation.
All right. Well, hopefully they're doing it and they're just being highly secretive about it. We'll stay on the case. Jennifer, thanks so much.
In Kansas City.
This is David Harrington's brother. David's the one that was found in the chair.
Alone. You can't have these families.
And this is
with
a
these
new
young
one.
guys had their whole lives in front of them, and there's just no answer. And the authorities aren't saying anything. I respect the authorities doing things the right way, but according to one of the guys involved here, his attorney, they don't expect foul play. Then why don't you give the families some answers? So these 3 men in Kansas City, you know the story. They were found frozen to death in their buddy's backyard in a way that we haven't heard before, by the way, which you're going to hear in a moment. But no gunshot, no stab wound, no ligature, meaning nobody had strangled them, apparently. Okay? So they send it out for an autopsy and toxicology. They say 8 weeks. 8 weeks. You can't bury, you can't mourn, you can't know. The families want answers. So we keep doing the story. And not to hype about it, because we can only know what is shown. All right? The family knows what these guys were about and what they were doing and who this friend was to them. Let's bring in the brother of Ricky Johnson, one of the deceased. We had his father on last week.
We did hear an interview from Jonathan, David's brother. However, this is a new one that we haven't seen yet.
Jonathan Price is his name. He joins us now. Jonathan, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Chris.
So how's the family holding up with the unknown?
It's the same every day, with the lack of answers, the inability to really truly mourn without any form of cause. It's just very difficult. I don't think I'll ever move on really I'll never move on, but especially not knowing what happened to my brother. And I'm not one of these people that tries to speculate and stuff like that, but I want ideas out there. I want to be involved more. My mother, Ricky's father, they want to be involved more, and we're just not getting answers from anybody, even the people that claim they're doing the investigation.
So is it true that you guys have been trying to get the police to tell you what's happening and that they are not in communication with you?
That's correct.
Is there any reason? Is there
Yep.
some protocol in Kansas City I'm not aware of where they're not allowed to interface with the families of victims of crimes? Because usually that's like the main interface.
Yes, and you would think so. Especially with something like this. And I'm not saying there was or was not a crime, but if you immediately suspect no foul play, then you should have a story. You should have something to tell the families. And for no one to hear anything, that doesn't make any sense. And I think that's one of the main reasons why.
In my opinion, him going to rehab is definitely part of the story and definitely probably explains a lot of what happened.
Why this is getting so big.
So 2 things that you've said that I haven't heard before. One, you seem to know something about where these men were found that I haven't heard. What information do you have about specifically where they were in the backyard and how they were situated?
Well, I don't have firsthand knowledge, but I have heard, because as being a brother, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at everything anybody posts, whether it's information I feel is useful or information I don't feel is useful. but information I did
Well,
find
you also know who found them,
was
right? I mean, they were found. They were found
Yeah.
by an extended family member. So you guys are in contact. So go ahead, tell the audience.
Yeah, so I believe David was found in a lawn chair on the back porch, rather than all three laying flat, which definitely paints a picture we did not have from the very beginning. And it definitely brings up some questions that you would have, especially with somebody that, I don't care who you are, where you live. If it's snowing outside, you're looking at how bad it's getting, especially if you have any type of responsibilities of leaving your house in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter if you work from home, you got to leave sometime. And from his lawyer, we don't know if he left or not, because he started out saying that he left the home sporadically throughout the day. And then another one where he was home for 50 hours with no leaving the house
And they had
or looking out a
cars.
window.
And there were
Yes.
cars outside in front. And you have a feeling that an intoxicant was involved, and you know your brother, and this is not a judgment thing. I don't care how he liked to spend his free time. It's not what this is about. You believe that the answer here lies in something that your brother didn't know he was taking.
Yes, absolutely. I don't even speculate on what my brother has or has not done in the past, because that wouldn't be firsthand knowledge of mine either. I just know that my brother was a good man. He loved his daughters to death. He absolutely had future plans to be a father to them for the rest of their lives, and he would not jeopardize that.
He had girls, you guys. That's sad.
So it just doesn't make any sense.
If you have not seen it yet, this is Ashton Brady, and he lives across the street from Jordan, where Jordan used to live, and he videoed this.
By happenstance, looked out at the exact moment that 911 was being called. Ashton, we know now that that was Clayton's fiance that actually discovered those bodies, called 911 and alerted the authorities. Just walk me through what you saw in that moment.
So basically, I was just going, turn off all my lights.
So, guys, you can see it's blurry, but this is where he's in handcuffs, and they're talking to him. This is the house right there. And you can see the cars on the side of the road. They weren't in the driveway.
I was getting ready for bed, locking the doors. I went to lock my front door, and I saw a woman come out of the backyard on her phone, and she looked distressed because she kept looking back towards the house, and I thought it was weird. But I just moved in, so I really didn't know much, and so I just went back to my room. 10 minutes later, I saw an ambulance drive by, and I said, well, that's just weird. Something's going on. Went to the front room, looked out, and I saw that there was already 3 cop cars, and there was a man detained, and the woman was talking to the other police. And basically, I kind of watched that conspire for an hour or two. The man eventually left. The police searched the house, went through the backyards and everything, and I had no idea what had happened. And the next morning,
See, he says police searched the house. So I'm assuming they're just doing a clear and making sure no one else is in the house, maybe, and they didn't quote unquote search the house.
I saw the news that they had found 3 dead bodies, and I just was kind of in disbelief. I was like, wow, I watched that happen.
Right. And actually, we're looking at that video that you shot right there on the top left corner of your screen. So basically, you're saying that's the video where you're actually looking out and you can see Jordan Willis being detained.
That's probably within the first 5 to 10 minutes. I was like, oh my goodness, something serious is going on, at least. So, yeah.
So your red flags were going off in that moment, but even before that, right? Because you saw some of these victims' cars that were right here parked in front of your house, and that also kind of alerted you, right? Because that was unusual.
Yeah, we had just moved in, but that week we had never seen those cars there. And then all of a sudden, that whole weekend, there was cars parked right in front of our drive, and they never left. And they stayed there until.
So they were actually parked, guys, on the side of this dude's house. Wasn't in front of Jordan's house, he says.
The police came, and even after that, we found out they're deceased. But yes, those cars never left.
And obviously, that was something that raised your suspicions at all. Tell me, I know you hadn't lived here for very long, right? But tell me at all about Jordan Willis, what you know about him. I mean, did you ever see him out and about? Was he friendly? Did he come by and talk to you ever?
honestly, I have never seen him out. I never saw him or talked to him, so I cannot speak for that. Honestly, I do not know.
How about the fact that just something that is so strange, this case in general is bizarre and we don't have many answers. But the fact of the matter is, three men were outside for 2 days on this backyard, one sitting up in a chair, two laying down on their backs, frozen to death. I mean, how do you wrap your mind around all that information?
It's a lot, honestly. I imagine it has something to do with a bad drug or something, but it's strange that how long it occurred for people for something to notice like that. If it happened on a Sunday, that's a long time, and I feel like something should have been said, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's hard to say out loud because you don't have all the information, but the fact of the matter is 3 men are now dead. Does it feel like you're getting, or your community is getting, the answers it deserves right now? That seems to be the big issue that the families have, is it just doesn't feel like they're getting closure because they're not getting answers.
Yeah, I feel for the families and that they just want to know what really happened. And I feel like if we need to know, we need to know. I'm sure answers are going to come out, but I know a lot of people are wondering what happened around here. That's for sure.
What is the talk of the town? How are people talking about it still? Because no doubt about it, the whole world is looking at this case and talking about it. So how do you and your friends talk about it, process it, work through this whole story?
We just kind of sit down and talk about it. Sometimes we're just randomly, we'll be talking about like what could have really happened. Like how do your 3 buddies, just you not notice them for 2 days outside in the backyard? So it's really strange for me and all of our friends. It's really hard for me to say, but I feel like it had to been just maybe an accident. I don't know. It needs more investigation though, I think.
Ashton, hang
Alex?
tight. I think Ashley Banfield has a
Yeah.
question. Go ahead, Ashley.
I do. I don't think he can hear me with an IFB, but if he can't, pass this question on. Can you ask Ashton if he
Sure.
saw the bodies coming out of the house? Because we learned tonight on Chris Cuomo that the father of one of the men knew that one of the men was died or frozen in a position in a lawn chair on the back porch. And I wondered if he saw gurneys come out with 3 bodies, or if he saw something unusual in the position of the bodies that were brought out of the house.
Sure. We want to know what you saw beyond those initial things that you've shared already, in specific about the bodies coming out of this house. Were you still awake at that time? Did you witness gurneys or medical examiners actually coming out with these bodies or taking them out?
So I actually did not. After that, everyone kind of cleared out. So I didn't know what had happened. So I just went to bed. I thought it was just a misunderstanding or something between a wife and a husband, but that wasn't it at all. So I went to sleep, went to work the next day. And when I was at work, I got an email or a message from a friend, sending me the picture of the article about the dead people. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I honestly did not see an ambulance actually gurney anyone out or anything.
What do you remember about the conditions during those days here in Kansas City? Obviously, these bodies were found frozen. Do you remember it being cold, freezing? Obviously, you saw this woman talking on her cell phone at night, 10 o'clock at night in the winter weather. And so that raised your alarms. But what do you remember just about the temperatures or the weather around that time?
It was cold. It was really cold. I'd gone hunting that Sunday and we hunted a pond, and we actually had to put pretty much an ice prop in there to make the pond open. So I mean, if that tells you anything, we could walk on the ice. That's how thick it was. So I mean, it was definitely below freezing, and not temperatures you want to just be outside hanging out in with no clothes.
Yeah, enough to raise red flags. Ashton, thank you very much for sharing that insight with us.
Thank
Okay, I'm going to show the backyard again. It's only 20 seconds. And then sense of the families. Oh, damn, I forgot to press this. Oh, this is what we just watched. Gosh. Dog at 6 alive. Silly girl, silly girl. She's just like so tip, I guess. Hey.
If all of that is true, there's a question. This has to be about drugs.
I know we just saw this. And this one's on Twitter. Not really sure who this guy, Alex Capriello. I'm sure he's a journalist, but here is the backyard, and you can see the chairs by the door. Sorry, I wanted to share his link. And Jules is hollering at people over here. Yes, do it now. Let me post this link while that's doing that. Thanks for being here, everyone. That's the link for the backyard video. I'm just waiting to play. It didn't take this long to play on my phone. So again, this must be the two chairs, one where David was found. And I hear the other two were by the fence. I don't know if it'd be like in this little corner right here where you have the house sticking out more to hide. And then I saw Cinnamon Shogun. I love him. And he had a title that said Police Missed Evidence. I'm wondering if he's talking about the chair because I didn't get to watch him yet. I was doing this. Okay. That's the backyard. I'm not going to show it again for a third time. I played it twice earlier. And then let's just get into some short videos real quick that we've seen already, but maybe other people have not. Okay. Oh, yes. Let me show you again one more time. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'm going to show you one more time that he is in rehab. Did you guys see the backyard? Okay, here we go. Kansas families await toxicology results. This was an enormous, a source close to Willis family told Fox News Digital. So evidently he is and he went to rehab because it had to happen. 3 lives lost for him to go to rehab. Yeah. Well, within 2 days that he slept, Jordan is depressed and grieve the loss of his friends. Bye, Jules. I'll see you later, honey. I'm just going to show a couple of more family interviews, if it lets me. And that's all. I really just wanted to start from the beginning in case anyone in this world lives under a rock and hasn't learned about this case yet.
"37-year-old David Harrington and 36-year-old Clayton McGinney froze to death outside of his home. According to Kansas City police, loved ones were trying to get in touch with the men, but were not getting responses. That's when the fiance of one of them went to the home. No one answered the front door. The woman broke through a basement window and found a body on the back porch. 2 other bodies were found by the police in the backyard shortly after. Now, some family and friends are not buying the explanation that, 3 guys just freeze to death outside someone's home when they went to watch a football game. David Harrington's mother, Jennifer Marquez, recently spoke to our Kansas City affiliate to air her frustrations.
I'm furious. Everybody's furious. Nobody believes this story.
Friends of the 3 men also took to social media to air their anger. One friend saying, "This man was inside his home alive. All my friends were dead in his yard for Lord knows how long. They were all hanging out since after the game Sunday. He knew people were looking for them. He read messages of people searching for him on Tuesday. My husband banged on his door for 20 minutes. My friend banged on a door and then busted a window and announced her presence while she's inside, and still nothing from him. Then the cops come 10 minutes later, and he comes out nonchalant in his boxers with an empty wine glass in his hand. Nothing is adding up. Dave, Clay, and Ricky need and deserve justice. They didn't deserve this." Autopsy results are currently pending, but as of now, the police are saying no signs of foul play. And they're not treating this as a homicide investigation. That seems curious, right? They just died? They just froze? I'm sure we're going to get more information once the autopsies come out, but I'm even trying to think about how this could happen, right? They go to the game, they watch the game, they go outside, they can't get back into the house, but what, none of them had cell phones? I mean, I just don't understand it. Anyway, big show tomorrow. We're covering all things crime, hitting everything from the stunning news out of the Scott Peterson case that the Innocence Project is.
This is the friend. Oh, hold on a second. I closed that out. 1 second, yeah.
Got together to watch the Chiefs game, and they never made it home. That was on Sunday, January 7th. And 2 days later, after no luck with getting hold of the man who hosted the gathering. The fiance of one of those men broke into that house and found one of the bodies on the back porch. Police found 2 more in the backyard. The homeowner was reportedly at the house and spoke with police. He was not arrested, not been named the suspect. By the next day, police ruled out any foul play, affirming that this is a death investigation and not a homicide case. But they have not revealed what led them to that very conclusion. And joining us now, we want to bring in Natalie Kay. She was friends with David, Ricky, and Clayton. Natalie, words are failing me here. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you.
What has the last week been like for you after learning the news, and how are you holding up? I know you're close with these 3.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I feel like it's, obviously it's 3 people, so this is a huge loss. A lot of family and friends have a lot of questions that unfortunately haven't been answered yet. And I think at this point, most of us are really just hoping to be able to get some of those answers and understand some of the inconsistencies and what happened here so that we can, have peace and understand, what happened.
Yeah. And I think for all of us following this story, whether you knew them or you're like me, you're following this story from afar, something doesn't add up here. I mean, 3 guys don't just get together and freeze to death while they're watching a Chiefs game, which is what the guy who lives at that home told police. What's your gut check telling you, Natalie?
I think it's important to note that these men were all friends. And so I think initially, no one wanted to speculate that anything intentional or malicious had happened. I think that's fair to the 4th party to state, but I think at some point something went terribly wrong, and unfortunately there was a party here that was alive and well, and I think that there was a lack of regard, maybe out of fear of consequence, out of fear that it might implicate him. I think that to make a blanket statement that these men froze to death is unfair.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the case, to be very honest. I mean, I'm not the scientist here, but I feel to imply that 3 adult men with access to a home and access to their vehicles would, all simultaneously freeze to death in 39-degree weather at the same time is highly unlikely.
Yeah. What more can you, when you say this 4th party, I believe you're talking about the guy who lives at the home who told police that his friends froze to death. Can you share any more insight about their relationship, how they knew one another? And also, have you been given any more details as to how he didn't know these bodies were in the backyard, or why he didn't report that they were in the backyard for days on end?
I actually did not know this man personally, was friends with all of the boys, but I only know of him. I've heard he's a very intelligent man. I've heard he is by no means stupid. He's a scientist, I know that they had all been friends for some years. And, I think the big questions everybody has are, the inconsistencies in the story. How can you be in your home for 2 days and not know that, all of these people who they were adults, they were responsible for themselves. But at some point, Tuesday, he was made aware early in the day, messages that he did read, that, at least 2 of these men didn't make it home. So at that point, you have to ask the question, would you not get up and look outside to see if their cars are there, make your way through the house, reach out to any of these friends that were looking for them. And unfortunately, he didn't do that.
Yeah, something just feels off about this whole story. And
thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News.
Let's see. Let's do one more and then we'll be done. Thank you, everybody that's been here with me. All right, let's see. Okay. I'm here, guys.
Developing tonight, a family is pressing for answers after 3 men were found dead outside a Northland home. Kansas City police identified the victims today: Clayton McGeeney, David Harrington, and Ricky Johnson. Now it's Johnson's family who is speaking up today, sharing their grief and questions with KSHB 41's Alyssa Jackson. Alyssa.
It's been a tough day. It's been a tough week for that family. Ricky Johnson's parents agree that the circumstances of this investigation leave a lot of questions. While they grieve the unexpected loss of their son, they're also fighting for answers about what happened. After days of not hearing from their son, Ricky Johnson, his father and stepmother knew something just wasn't right.
Monday, I sent to his phone and I was going to go down and make a missing report on him.
Ricky was one of 3 men found dead outside of a home in the Northland, only after a fiance of one of the victims went to search for herself.
But as a father, you know when your kid's gone. There's some kind of feeling that comes over you.
His mother was able to get enough words together to describe. Family says their son was outside in the snow for 2 days.
You're grieving, but you're also mad because you don't know all the circumstances, but you've been hearing bits and pieces, and what you're hearing isn't good. That they were left out in the cold, and then they had to wait for their bodies to thaw out for them to do an autopsy. That's something that you don't ever want to hear.
Losing their son leaves a hole in their family they never expected.
He was just a good man. He had his quirks, but he was a very lovable person, and he loved his children to death.
But their grief isn't stopping them from pressing for the facts.
And from police, what do you need from them moving forward?
I need them to do their job. I need them to find out what happened. I need them to find out what in the world these boys were doing out in the backyard.
I'm not going to stand back and let it go. I will go until the day I die to get this figured out, what's going on.
Amen.
Alyssa joins me now here at the desk. Alyssa, there have been a lot of questions about this case. First off, do we know how the victims died?
As of right now, this case is still active. So as far as we've been told from police, there haven't been an official cause of death yet, but our investigative producer did submit a request this afternoon for autopsy reports, which could take some time because this is an open investigation, as I mentioned. So KCPD did reiterate today that there isn't any initial indication of foul play.
And have police made any arrests in this case?
KCPD would not confirm that with us today because of the nature of this investigation being active and in its beginning stages. But as soon as we have that information, we'll make sure to update it in our newscast at kshb.com.
Alyssa Jackson, thank you for that report.
And pause it. Hey, y'all, if you didn't hit the like button, please hit it for me. All right, let's see. You got breaking, got the update, backyard. Jordan's depressed. I think this is the one where Ashley asks the lawyer for interview with Jordan.
Involving 3 men who were found dead outside of a Kansas City home.
They had been watching a football game with friends, but their bodies were found 2 days after the game when worried relatives grew concerned because numerous texts went unanswered, and now there could be even more to this situation. News at the home is changing his story.
Yeah, it's complicated. Who lived in the home where the 3 friends were found dead again. So earlier this week, John revealed that Willis allegedly left the 3 men to go to sleep upstairs, saying his client actually walked the 4 men.
We did Ricky Jackson. So y'all know by now that Clayton's girlfriend is the one that found the first body. And to me, the first body was David. I'm not all the way to the beginning though.
His sister and brother are devastated, and
What the heck? I wonder why it looks like that. Do they not want her whole face shown?
his
Malik Jackson.
Okay, guys, that's what I have for you tonight. I played the backyard a few times, and I read about the him going to rehab a couple of times. I do have to edit it though. I won't right now. The beginning is muted, and I didn't realize it until one of my subs told me. I'm sorry about that. But I want to thank everyone for watching with me. I'm sorry about Penelope. Please hit that thumbs up for me and please share for me. I would really, really appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful evening and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.